The excitement is palpable, and I'm not just saying that because the new Premier League season is upon us, and the picks are just about on their way. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe, this is episode 108 of Pinnacle FC. Man, it's a busy time in the football world. Transfers aplenty. The kickoff of La Liga went down last weekend with Real Madrid and Barcelona joining the fray this week. Serie A is going to be up and running this weekend as well. And the return of the mighty Premier League. We're going to cover it all. Our 5 units of euphoria, of madness, of awesomeness. I don't know what you want to call it. We'll be back for this season as well. And I know how fired up Jake Osgathorpe is right now because he's wearing his Zion Suzuki Japan kit right now to celebrate one of the many moves made by Aston Villa here in the build-up to the new campaign. How you doing, Jake? I'm excited about this episode.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to getting back into it. I think the fixture list is tricky. I'll be honest, especially across Europe. There's not much that jumps out to me in the major leagues in Europe, but in the Premier League, it's also tough. I mean, there's so many unknowns, so you are literally taking swings on what you think is going to be the case. I think that all of Sunday's games. Is it Sunday's games, or we've got City Bournemouth, which is 2 new managers. You've got Fulham Chelsea, which is 2 new managers. I think there's one more there's a manager, full house, Newcastle Liverpool as well, which is 2 new managers. So you've got 3 games there out of the 10-game slate where we don't really have anything to go off in terms of what the teams are going to look like, which makes it really interesting and difficult at the same time.
I cannot wait. Honestly, I can't wait to dig into all of it. As always, we're on the march to 10,000 subscribers. So please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. We're going to be here all season long, covering Champions League football as well. We're the one place you need to follow. So smash that like button as well. If you're just listening to the podcast, thank you. You can find us on Apple or Spotify under Pinnacle Podcast. All the markets that we use for this podcast are courtesy of Pinnacle, Bet Smart, Bet Pinnacle. Head over to pinnacle.com for the best odds and highest limits. If you're new to the program, then welcome. At the end of every episode, we give our 5 units of best plays or top plays for the week, or ones that we like. We're going to give you plenty of leans and, of course, prognostications over the course of the podcast, but we kind of put things in cement at the end in terms of what we want to hone in on. On the domestic league podcast, that's this one. Last year was a bit of a struggle just because of the pure volume of games that we were playing every week. Champions League was class last week. Both of us significant profit throughout the year. Anything else I need to hit on? Follow Pinnacle on X as well and hit up the subreddit Pinnacle Sportsbook for direct access to the Pinnacle team. I think that just about covers it, Jake. You haven't been transferred yet. I haven't been transferred yet, but the transfer market's hot. I know that right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say you didn't mention the World Cup success as well. We were hot through the World Cup, so we are coming in. Well, feeling good. Hopefully that translates into the picks, and we can continue that heater because we did both have very good World Cups on this show. So fingers crossed we can roll that over.
Okay.
And then we might get transferred.
Yeah, potentially.
Big money, £100 million.
As long as it's big
Manchester
money.
City
and
need a midfielder.
Oh yeah, and I mean, we love Pinnacle, we respect Pinnacle, but as long as our pockets are being lined, then that's what it's all about at the end of the day for any big money move. So this week we have Premier League, we have La Liga, we have Serie A. Bundesliga are still a week away. The Pokal is being played this weekend. We're just going to swerve that and any other big matches that may be on the horizon. I'm just focused with the big 3 right now in terms of England, Spain, and Italy for this week. We kind of touched it on last week's season preview edition, but how do you approach week 1 of any new campaign, Jake, just in terms of the bets that you make, what you try to avoid, and overall maybe just a big picture approach in how to navigate what will be a difficult weekend?
Yeah, so I would advise everyone to be a bit tentative with the stakes to start off with, because you are taking they're not blind bets effectively, but you don't have as much information as what you will do in a couple of weeks' time. Now, the exception to that is if you think you are on a really big edge. So the one for me this week is going to be Chelsea to beat Fulham. It's a bit of a spoiler alert for later in the show, but that's one where I'm really strong on Chelsea's chances this season. I think they're going to have a really good campaign. And early on in this season, I want to fade Fulham because new manager, quite a lot of uncertainty, quite a bit of player churn. I think this is a good opportunity to kind of not go super heavy on Chelsea to win, but increase your stake a little bit because I feel as though this is one that I'm a little bit more sure of. Whereas all the other ones that I'm going to be putting forward are a little bit more tentative. So just bet accordingly, basically. If you feel like you've got a strong edge, bet it hard at this stage of the season because it probably will prove to be value if your edge is correct. And likewise, if you've got a lean, just bet tentatively just until you either get the nod from the eye test or the underlying data after a few weeks that you are on the right thing, or the opposite happens and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I got that one wrong. I can leave that alone as a thought piece. But it's always start of the season. We don't have any information data, and I feel like this season, Premier League in particular, it's even more the case with the amount of managerial churn.
And heading into any new campaign requires considerable legwork. Obviously, we've done the legwork, but player availability is huge. Some sides might be very short. There might be some players that aren't completely match fit or perhaps not even available. And some sides are ready to start the season now more than others. We have a transfer window show upcoming in future weeks, but that's something that clearly matters at this point of the season. So that will be part of our calculations this week as well.
Just to jump in on that, I mean, that was pretty evident last week for anybody who watched the Community Shield. It was almost like Arsenal had an extra 2 weeks of pre-season to Manchester City, and it was very strange to see Maresca play quite a lot of the players that played a lot of minutes at the World Cup. So Anderson was thrown into the mix, Haaland was thrown into the mix. Why? Why give them more minutes? They only got back into training on the Thursday, and then they're thrown in to start on the Sunday. And Arsenal looked fresh; they looked very, very sharp. Obviously, like quite a lot of their players didn't go as deep in the competition. Rice and Saka were on the bench. So yeah, that was kind of a case in point of one team looked really, really fit and ready to go, and the other team looked like they were a week behind.
Yeah, we'll learn something about a lot of these teams. I mean, preseason is one thing. You can track results and who's been on good form. And there's certainly some clubs who have had much more turbulent past weeks than others. A lot of that will come out here over the next half an hour. So let's dig into the board this week. And we'll start off with the Premier League, which kicks off on Friday. Arsenal, the champions, in action to kick off the new campaign. Taking on newly promoted Coventry City. Good to see them back in the Premier League. I mean, it's been ages since they've been back, and as difficult of a task as any upon their return, taking on the champions, a team that looks to be adding Ezri Konsa to the fray as well. We addressed it on our season preview show. They're the favorites to win the Premier League with good reason, and I think potentially a better outfit than the team that won the Premier League last season as well. No surprise, the markets heavily favor Arsenal in this one, but is there any playable market in terms of just where things are at right now in terms of this individual matchup?
I mean, there's a couple of different ways you can come at this. I mean, we're all expecting Arsenal to win. That's the main thing I will say. I think they'll get the victory. It's just a case of how that win will come about, really, because if they looked really sharp in forward areas last week against Manchester City, they exposed them very easily. If they continue in that manner, then the big margin home win definitely appeals. I mean, the handicap set at -2. You're getting -103 for that, which, money back if they win by 2 goals. We get full payout if they win by more. That's definitely something that appealed, just based on the fact of Arsenal dominating the newly promoted teams at home in the last couple of seasons. So last season they beat Leeds 5, they beat Sunderland 3. At Burnley, I think that was the last home game of the season. There was a nervous 1-0 because they were pushing for the title. But if you go back over the last 3 seasons, they've won all 9 home matches against promoted sides by an aggregate score of 27-4. So they're hitting 3 goals a game on average, conceding less than half a goal per game. So the handicap could definitely be the way forward, with especially with Coventry defensively not as solid as what people might think coming out of the Championship as title winners. They were the fifth best defence according to expected goals. So if you think Arsenal are going to come flying out the traps here with a bit more of an attack-minded approach, especially against the lesser lights, the teams that are expected to be down there, then I would definitely recommend the handicap. Alternatively, if you want a bigger price, the Wheeler special is definitely in the mix here at both teams to score no and over 2.5 goals at plus 226. 6 of the 9 matches against newly promoted teams at the Emirates have all been 1-0. And if you think this is going to be another one of those, that might be a way to bolster the price. But they're just leans for me. I don't have any serious bet that I want to put forward. But if I was to pick, it would be the handicap just to cover.
Yeah. If you want to just celebrate the new season, the Premier League being back, and you want a little bit of a nibble, those were the two plays that I circled as well. Precisely the way that Arsenal started last season at home was exemplary. Like, it set them on a pace, set the tone for what was to come, and everything that we saw last weekend against City in the Shield tells me that this team is up and ready for it. You mentioned 5-0 against Leeds was their first home win last season. Forest 3-0, then they drew City 1-1, their stiffest competition. Then they beat West Ham 2-0, Palace 1-0, Spurs 4-1, Brentford 2-0. I mean, they were just thoroughly dominant in terms of their home play. 41 goals scored, only 11 conceded, and the expected goals kind of lined up with those numbers as well. So 7 results last season in the opening match ended in a 2-0 result. And that's why the Wheeler special, I think, is very much in play here. By the way, Haji Wright out for Coventry City as well. One of their most important number 9s. So, yeah, I think a small nibble, a small bite on the Wheeler special would be a great way to kick off this season as well. Okay. Let's move forward to the Saturday fixtures, and I'll just open up the board for you and whatever catches your eye, Jake.
Yeah, we've got a really interesting scenario with Hull against Manchester United, with Hull plus 730 as a home team on their return to the Premier League. And that just kind of shows you how poorly they're rated by the markets. And anybody who listened to our Outright show will understand why that is. They were the massive overperformers on the data in the Championship. Now they step up to the best in class in the Premier League. And, even if you don't think Manchester United are going to be title contenders, I think they're still going to be in the mix for Champions League and ultimately probably a fair price here. But the angle I wanted to take was actually goals. We'll just take the over, because I think this whole team, like Man United, have got a lot of quality in forward areas, and they're going to have a lot of joy, a lot of the ball in the final third, because even against Championship opponents, Hull conceded a lot of possession. They sat deep. They conceded a lot of territory. Conceded a lot of shots. I think they conceded the second most shots in the entire league last season. And if you give higher quality teams more shots, then you're going to get punished. And when you've got Bruno Fernandes, Matheus Cunha, Brian Mbeumo, they'll take advantage of the shots that they're given better or more than the lower league teams will be. So I think that there's every chance that United could score 3, maybe even 4. We saw Chelsea go up there with a B team and score 4 in the FA Cup last season. And United aren't watertight defensively. Hull might catch them once on the counter-attack. I just thought the goal line was a bit low, to be honest. Minus 116, we're getting for 2.75. So I'll happily have a unit on that.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, just to add to that, it's honestly helped the market for me that United were so poor defensively in their last preseason match against AC Milan, because United just aren't like every other side where you can just kind of brush off a preseason match. I think there's a knock-on effect, because a lot of people would have seen 4 goals conceded, and the manner by which those goals were conceded were really, really poor. I think that they'll be sharp enough heading into their AC Milan, but not Hull City,
who are managed by.
So yeah, Ruben Amorim, but if you watch the game, it like the goals were shocking. They were like gifted to Amorim, just to say, piss off, more so than anything else. That's why, I look at Hull City, like they had the I think they were 19th in expected goals per game last season in the championship. And largely they came from Ollie McBurney. Now we all know Ollie McBurney, good championship player, good Premier League player. I don't think so. It's just like a step too high for him. Gelhardt, who they brought in, he's unavailable. He's out through injury. A couple other players are out for Hull City as well. I don't think they score against United this weekend. I appreciate where you're coming from here on your angle that you're taking, but I'm happy just to take United to win to nil at plus 137. Seems to be a good play for me this weekend. Okay, any other plays on Saturday?
Yes, I wanted to I wanted to talk around Everton Palace and what just really why are Palace such a big underdog? I mean, it seems like there's been a little bit too much of a market move based on the fact that Palace have had a change of manager. Because to me, Everton haven't really improved greatly. They've lost Grealish, and Grealish was quite a big player for them last season. Tariq George is the big hope on the left-hand side now. But I don't think the Crystal Palace warrant being this big. I mean, it's almost like people are pricing this based on like Pierre Sarge being a bit of a bum. I mean, people don't realise that he finished second in Liga and chased PSG all the way last season, won the Coupe de France. Like, this is a serious manager that Crystal Palace have brought in. It's an absolute coup to get him. So I'm very surprised at the prices here. And that's before we even talk about the fact that Everton's home record was really poor last season as they settled into the new stadium. And there's no guarantee that's just going to turn around just because they're a year in the stadium. So I was looking at Palace plus a quarter at even money as a small bet, because I do think this Palace team on paper is a better team than Everton. And it could well prove that Pierre Sarge is a far better manager than David Moyes with a lot more upside. So get the better team on side with a quarter of a goal. I'm a bit annoyed Nottingham Forest are playing Leeds in the opening game, because the two teams that I want to back, the two teams I want to take with me against some of the big boys. Don't get the opportunity this time around, but I'm just going to leave that one alone. And then the Ipswich Sunderland one.
Just really quickly on the Forest one. I had a nibble. I made an early play. I got in on Forest at about plus 140. I believe plus 139 was the number. It's down to plus 128 to win. I just think that they're a better side. I do still have some questions about the ceiling, how good Leeds will be. I think they're going to be fine this year. But Leeds away from home are a much different side than Leeds at home. So I backed Forest early, just a half unit play there. Yeah. Just really quickly on Palace at Everton, I believe James Garner's out this weekend too. Like that, and Everton don't really have a strong right back. They don't really have a right back, to be honest with you. So I think that they're going to be a
O'Brien
role, or I got some questions about what that will look like over there. So I haven't made a play, not an official play there, but I agree with your assessment.
So
carry on.
So I'll be honest. The first thing when I saw the 3 p.m. games, the first thing I thought was they all look like draws. They all smell like draws. So I'm just going to have a very small play on the draw parlay for those 3 matches. Just because they look, to me, all 3 of them look like they could be really evenly matched teams. And especially when there's a bit of tentativeness, maybe a little bit of sloppiness coming out the gate, I could see it being very, very close, 1 goal here or there. So, yeah, plus 3,851 for the draw treble there.
Wow.
A small bet on. Ipswich Sunderland is my favourite bet for a draw, because I think Sunderland, I don't think there's much between these 2 teams, and I think both would take a point, to be honest. So yeah, that was just my immediate thought when I saw the schedule. It's like
my lean was to the under in that game.
I'm gonna take a swing.
Yeah. Ipswich Sunderland looks like 0-0, 1-1 written all over it. I mean, so my favorite game on the board this weekend is the late game on Saturday. It's Brentford against Spurs. And let's start this season how we approached really the vast majority of last season by massively fading Spurs. I mean, I'm still not convinced that this team is anywhere near good enough to reach the lofty levels that many people expect now that they splash some cash over the course of this offseason. And amidst that, there's some real issues in attack, like some significant issues with players still out. Solanke's out. Kudos is still out. Like they're going to have to add at least one or two attacking players. Kulusevski's been on a milk carton MIA for ages now. Odegaard still like. I mean, I just look at that. The best number on the board this weekend. And by the way, Brentford have gone about, done some decent business. They're consistent. They have the same manager. They're playing at home. Historically, they haven't been great at coming up with results against Spurs. History is the only one thing that plays against them. But Brentford to take on a depleted Spurs team in terms of attacking players available. Brentford to win to nil plays at plus 436. That is my favorite bet on the board this weekend. Full unit play. Let's go. I'm shocked it's that high. I'm fine with just backing Brentford on an outright win at plus 148. I think you're getting the better team at home to go on and win that game. I understand that Spurs, many project, will be better than that. That's fine. But I just don't think that they're fully equipped. They're ready to kickstart a Premier League campaign, not quite yet, with a number of big changes to the team as well. Like, there's no doubt players like Tonali will help, like quality player. I understand that. But they've lost like their center backs, their central midfield, and they have issues in attack. Going on against a Brentford side who I think are going to be very much in the mix. Top six, maybe even good enough to push on to a top four. We'll see. Maybe that's a little bit ambitious, but and I'm old enough to remember Brentford at home is a difficult fixture first game of the season for many of those so-called big clubs in the Premier League. So yeah, plus 436, Brentford to win to nil.
It's very punchy. I like it. Yeah, I have the same sentiments around Spurs in attack. I mean, they just look very, very light, and the players that they have available don't really scare you. They don't really. You're not going to be running and hiding, are you, as a defender when Richarlison and Solanke are leading the line? But yeah, I definitely would be looking at Brentford, a pro Brentford rather than a pro Spurs in that game for sure. Yeah, I mean, we can move on to Sunday if you want.
Let's go. Sunday.
Quite happy to take Manchester City on with Bournemouth at the handicap. Plus 1.25. I think this is, I mean, maybe I'm buying a little bit too much or reading too much into the Community Shield game, but they were all over the place. They looked tired. They have obviously had the blow of Rodri leaving in midweek. And Bournemouth, they'll be way fresher. They've had a full pre-season under this manager. Not too many players have played in the World Cup. Come back late, so they've got the bulk of the squad ready to go. And I don't think the gap between Bournemouth and Man City is all that big, really. I mean, in terms of points last season, it wasn't massive. In terms of positions, it was just 4. And I think Marco Rose is a good appointment to kind of kick on from, or at least pick up where Real left off. So Bournemouth plus 1.25 on the handicap at minus 113 is something that I'm looking at with real interest to make a pro play. Just because I think Man City just didn't look very, very fit last week against Arsenal. They were outrunning. The last team that you want to be coming up against when you're not 100% is a Bournemouth team that run very, very hard.
Yeah, there's a number of players I'm just not sure about their fitness in terms of where we currently sit here on a Wednesday record. But that heading into the weekend, if some of these Bournemouth players are fit and available, then I think I'd have to follow your lead based upon that number, but nothing for me right now. Brighton, Aston Villa on the weekend. Man, Villa have made a lot of changes, Jake, and there's potentially more changes on the horizon. This was a game when I woke up this morning, probably wasn't going to touch. Now it looks like Ezri Konsa's on his way out. Ollie Watkins, like a transfer to Saudi, could come about. This team is already potentially losing their goalkeeper. They're starting left back in Nina. Konsa was probably their best defender last year. Tielemans was their best midfielder. Rogers was their best attacking player. Watkins is their best number 9. Like, this is substantial changes. I guess the talented Brighton side here. I mean, The more I look at this, if you Brighton at plus 122 might be worth a punt. Like, the number's not that great for me. I would have liked to have a little bit more, but I think that this reflects the amount of change that this Villa side has undergone. Like, you could like Unai Emery, you can like some of their young players that they brought in. Suzuki, I think he's a good goalkeeper. Manzambi's not ready, but he's a good player. Madja, like a really exciting, young attacker. But like this weekend away from home at Brighton, are they ready to go against Fabian Hertzler and company? I'm just not quite sure about that.
Yeah. I mean, I initially had Villa plus a quarter down because I'm not sure. Like, I think it's a weird one because all the people that are leaving, you think that weakens them, but I have a feeling that Unai Emery's going to be bang up for it this season. Like, he's going to feel as though he's fighting against all the odds, which is what he likes. He likes to be in a corner and come out scrapping and overachieve, basically. And I just look at Brighton and they've got so many injuries. Like, they're missing Minter, they're missing Matoma from the starting 11.
Most of them are in attack, though. Defensively, they look pretty solid. Like in terms of their shape, it's just that maybe the difference makers in attack. You're spot on when it comes to that.
Yeah, so and that's the other thing we have to factor in is Brighton playing the Conference League as a qualifier on Thursday night, and they're away from home. I think is it Tromsø in Norway. So they're playing away from home in a big Conference League qualifier. Then they play at home to Villa, and then they've obviously got the return leg, which as a team like Brighton, who are going to be looking to win the Conference League, I think that I probably would increase their prices just based on the fact of that, the short turnaround from a long trip to Norway, the fact that they're probably putting more stock in that competition than this opening league game. So if anything, I would be leaning Villa personally, because I think there's going to be a drop off from Brighton, and the business it's obviously it's unfinished, but you're looking at losing Baleba as well. Granted, he wasn't the starter at the back end of the season, but on paper, that like the 11 that they could field doesn't really frighten you, if that makes sense. And even though Villa have been gutted, they've still got like incredible depth in that squad to be able to come in and make a big impact. So yeah, I personally would be taking you on if this was an official head-to-head with Villa.
I'm not making that official. I'm just looking at the way I'm looking at this now is a little bit different than it was when I woke up this morning. I just felt like it was worth mentioning, and there's certainly a team to watch. For a number, like it could turn out very well. Like you documented, you trust the manager, maybe brings in more players. There's just a lot of business that needs to be done. And when there's been that much change, usually it takes a little bit of time. That's what I'm suggesting. Just for time purposes, it's worthwhile to mention Newcastle, Liverpool. Maybe it's two teams that you're completely, Jake Osgathorpe is very sour on, very negative towards. Newcastle, I mean, the amount of change that they've undergone and what their preseason looked like, it's been a bit of a mess. And Liverpool is a team that you're not convinced with either. St. James's Park, Newcastle plus 271 on Pinnacle to win the game outright. Liverpool minus 106. The total is at 3.25. Is this game? Is there a play to be made in this one? Like, I lean to the under in this one. No official play for me, but that's kind of how I'd approach things. Just Isak returning to St. James's Park, but I mean, it seems like two teams that might have the handbrake on a little bit more than what we saw last season when these two sides played.
Yeah, the more I look at it, the more I want to back Newcastle, just because my pre-season thoughts of Liverpool and how I think they're going to start slowly. And then, yes, Newcastle have lost a lot of key players, but if you look at their potential front line of like Jan Visser, William Asula, Harvey Barnes, Anthony Elanga, that's going to cause Liverpool's backline all sorts of problems.
Yeah.
And even the midfield,
they have some still good players in those positions.
And they brought Traore in, the youngster, as well, Bazuma Traore. And then you look in midfield, and yeah, they've lost Guimaraes, they've lost Tonali, but you've got Willock, you've got Ramsey, you've got Lewis Miley, who can finally play in his proper position rather than playing at right back. Joe Linton's going to be missing.
Is Joe Linton fit? Is Joe Linton
he's
fit?
Down as expected to be back early September, so I don't think he'll be back for this one.
Okay.
But yeah, I think, look, that's an energetic midfield that could easily run all over Liverpool's, and Liverpool are going to obviously try and press high, dominate possession, and I think Newcastle are going to have the capability to pick them off. And the back line's still solid. Like, you've got Lewis Hall still there, you've got Malik Chow still there, Sven Botman's fit. They've just signed the right back Dedic from I can't remember where it's from.
Benfica.
Benfica, the Bosnian. So that, you know, they've still got the makings of a good team, and this is a massive
big
price.
Dan Burn, not Dan Burn, Big Dan Burn.
I wouldn't start him personally if I was the coach, but I'd bring him on when we needed like England did for defending late. Just
how'd that work out?
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I am probably going to talk myself into this. I personally, because it's there's a bit of uncertainty around Newcastle, their new manager as well. I'd be taking the big swing on Newcastle to win to a smaller stake rather than a bigger stake on the half a goal. Because if I'm right, then I want to be, proven right with a win rather than risking more money to then potentially be wrong, if that makes sense. So, I just have to kind of stick with this theory of opposing Iraola. And if I'm proven wrong, then I'm proven wrong. But I can't be having Liverpool at odds on away at Newcastle.
Okay, our producer Ben is yelling at us already because go figure, we're going heavier than we'd like. But the Monday fixture, a little bit of a derby, Fulham, Chelsea. You teased it earlier. I have the exact same play. It's making my board Chelsea to win at -107. I'll just leave the floor for you, Jake, to explain why you're so high on Chelsea and why this is a preferable play this week.
Yeah, it's Alonso, the business they've done. The fact that they already had a fairly high base to work from, I think they ranked as the 5th best team on expected points last season. So despite finishing 10th, he's taken over a decent spot with a good group of players. They brought in a bit more experience to kind of try and help the young players to stop getting sent off and losing the cool in certain areas. And ultimately, they're still just a very good team. And I think they've done a bit of fine tuning. They brought players that suit a system that Alonso likes to play. It seems like everyone's rowing in the same direction for a change at Chelsea, rather than the last few seasons. It's just been haphazard. Like, you have a manager like Maresca, who is very highly sought of, and obviously he's done very well at the Manchester City job, so he clearly knows what he's doing. Never got properly backed in the transfer window with players he wanted. They were all signing young players and then loaning them to Strasbourg, and it's like, well, that doesn't really help me now. I'm here to win now, and if I don't win, then I'm going to get sacked. So he just ended up walking away. Whereas now it feels as though they are tailoring their approach to try and win now and try and get Chelsea some silverware. So I think there's a lot of pro-Chelsea. And then Fulham, you've ripped out Jimenez, you've ripped out Harry Wilson, who were 2 high goal scorers last season, replacing them obviously with a bit of unproven commodities in Garcia and the other wing they brought in from Real Madrid. Arbeloa is just a massive question mark because we've only seen him in a managerial job at Real Madrid, and it didn't really go well. I mean, his win percentage looks good on paper, but knocked out the Copa del Rey to a second division team, lost the El Clasico that handed Barca the title, eliminated in the Champions League at Bayern Munich. It's, obviously it could have gone better, basically. And now he's thrust into a Premier League job. So yeah, I just think that this all lines up to make a pretty sizable Chelsea bet. And the other thing we have in our favour is that Alonso's been in charge for most of the summer. So he's got all these players, quite a lot of whom have not been in the World Cup either. Cole Palmer, Cole Palmer, João Pedro, even Estevao, like those sorts of players. They've been with Alonso all summer, learning his tactics, learning his system. So expecting big things from them, and they can start with a win in this derby.
Okay, well said. Let's move on to La Liga. The season kicked off last weekend with 4 fixtures then a Monday. Interestingly, the 4 first games all went over the total. And in the Monday match, both teams to score played as well. So that's a good trend for La Liga, which was at times a very low-scoring, less attack-minded league. Barcelona and Real Madrid both kick off their seasons this weekend. If you're looking at the board in La Liga, is there anything that stands out to you? We should also mention there's a game being played today of consequence. Atletico Madrid, like Julian Alvarez looks like he's on his way out or he's not going to play. I mean, that's consequential for where things are going to go, and potentially will even affect the Atletico Madrid market when it comes to this weekend, just based upon how they performed today against Malaga. Obviously, that will be done and dusted by the time you probably watch this podcast, but I just wanted to get that out of the way anyways. Looking at the board this weekend, I mean, plenty of storylines, like the return of Jose Mourinho to Real Madrid. I mean, they've taken some big swings in the market. I mean, keeping Vinny is huge, but landing Diamande for an outrageous number. They've bolstered their defense by bringing in like really experienced players, Dumfries, Cucurella. Like, it's going to be a much, Cunate. Like, it's going to be a much different complexion when it comes to Real Madrid this season. Okay, what on the board this week in La Liga is sticking out to you?
Yeah, it was just the one bet that jumped out, which was to back the goals in Atlético versus Villarreal, which is Atletico's next game on Sunday. The goal line set at 2.5, minus 113. I don't see a reason why we should expect Atletico to change their style from last season, which was to be very attack-minded at home and score a lot of goals, basically. And yes, Alvarez might be missing, but they've still got enough there to cause Villarreal plenty of problems. And it's a Villarreal team who were used to goals themselves last season. So I just thought at the price and the number, that appealed to me more than anything else on the La Liga board. I did have a small lean on Bilbao to beat Sevilla. Sevilla are in a big old mess. They are financially all over the place. They've had to get rid of a load of players to the point where near enough half of their squad has left because they can't afford to keep them. That could mean big problems later down the line in terms of relegation, possibly. And Bilbao are generally quite a trustworthy home team. Like I said on the Outright show, I do have my doubts around the manager, Edin Terzic, but I do, at the price, minus 136 for a Bilbao win, it's short. It's probably just about still value, to be honest. But yeah, my favourite bet is Atletico on the over 2.5 goals against Villarreal.
Okay, I'll run through my plays very quickly. I think there's some value. Celta Vigo, some money's come in backing them. They're at Valencia, which is a tough place to play, but Celta Vigo was a very good team last season. And this year they're entering the season with a very similar squad, like very, very few changes. They're well managed. They did well in away fixtures last year. And I think Valencia, because they're so young, might be better to back later on as the season progresses a little bit more. You can get Celta Vigo plus a quarter of a goal in the handicap at minus 115. Is pushed out from when I backed them on that number. It was minus 110 at that time. So some Celta Vigo money is coming in as well. I mentioned the changes with Real Madrid. I think we've noticed it over the course of the preseason as well. Focus on defensive prowess. They take on Espanyol, a team that scored 3 goals in the opening week of the season. I think it's going to be tough for Espanyol in this one. First game of the season for Real Madrid. Mourinho seems like it's good vibes for now. Madrid to win at Espanyol to 0 plays at plus 155. That is a number I will be backing. Elche, Barcelona. Barcelona been easing their Spanish contingent back into this preseason. How ready will they be in order to hit the ground running at full tilt? I think Barcelona in the over is the play in this one. The total for this game is set at 3.25. Just in terms of the goal total, but I prefer just to back Barcelona to win this game against Elche, who isn't very good, who could attack, like their attacking football was decent at times last season, but defensively were a bit of a nightmare. Barcelona the over 2.5 goals plays at minus 125. That would be my preferable play. And Levante looks to be an absolute mess. They look to be potential relegation fodder. Osasuna at home to beat them at minus 116 is a tempting play to make as well. That's it. Let's go to Italy and the Serie A this weekend. We saw Coppa Italia action with some of the Serie A teams, the lower ranked teams in the table from a season ago. They were in action last weekend. So maybe there's some groundwork or some basis for a little bit of analysis, but the real stuff gets going this weekend. Inter are the favorites once again to win the Scudetto. But as for the board this weekend, what's there to be played, Jake, if anything?
Yeah, nothing for me. So I'll leave the floor wide open for you to enter the Italian fray. I don't. Yeah, just there's nothing that leaps off the page to me. I was maybe going for the goal total in Torino Milan, just on the fact that Amorim's tenure at Man United was one of very poor defensive football, but the occasional bit of attacking burst. But yeah, I just sat the Italian league out this week.
Okay, man, I love betting some Italian football. I have a big lead Udinese at home against Como. They're just missing some players, but you can get them on the handicap plus a half a goal at plus 108. I may end up making a nibble there. Inter of the easiest start to the campaign like they could ever dream of. They take on Monza, who's probably going to be the weakest side. They're at home. I mean, Monza to win is at plus 1218, which is crazy. I still think that Inter to win to nil at minus 128 isn't a very playable range for me. That's a good number, one that I can back, and I will be. I think Parma are a decent side. Although there's been a few changes, I think they've recruited well. Parma Cagliari, who I think are really going to struggle this season, at plus 160. That is a bettable range for me. Same thing with Genoa. I think they're going to really struggle under Daniele De Rossi this season. I know they're at home. I know that Napoli needs some attacking additions. I got them at minus 117. You can now get them on Pinnacle. Back them for an away win at minus 119. Let's continue. Juventus, I think it's a bounce back campaign. Win to nil. It's not going to be an official play, but plus 138 is backable range for me. And maybe the game of the weekend, I'm looking forward to it. It's actually going to be played on Monday. Roma and Fiorentina. I'm very high on Fiorentina. I think they've done some really interesting transfer business as well. Some players have gone out. I understand that. Moise Kean is rumored to be leaving. That would certainly be a blow. But he's been playing over the preseason. And if he plays against Roma, I think they're a squad that can compete. And I think that the line is way too far in Roma's favor. Roma to win at a full goal on a handicap is a big one for me. So I'll be backing Fiorentina plus a full goal at minus 115. They're a sleeper team to watch for me. I think they'll be competing for European football come the season's end. And I just don't think there's that significant of a gap to warrant a full goal on the handicap between these two sides. So I think there's some value there to back the underdog Fiorentina away at Roma against Gasparini's side this weekend. Which brings us to the big board. We have up to 5 bets to make, 5 units to play with. Jake, let's go. Let's do it. This year, it was like every bet that I made on the podcast that wasn't part of my big board was playable in the end of the day. So let's just needs to kind of reverse and create some good mojo heading into the new campaign when it comes to the big four. Big board. I'm going to call it 5 units of awesomeness if you're okay with that.
So
let's
your
go.
5 units, your 5 units of awesomeness, you need to pick out which ones you want to put in and then disregard those and then pick another 5. Because generally, like you said, it didn't kind of go your way last year. Not that I did any better. No. But I'm going to go 2 units, Chelsea to beat Fulham at minus 106. A unit on Bournemouth plus 1.25 against Man City at minus 113. A unit on over 2.75 goals in the Hull Man United match. Then I'm going to do 3/4 of a unit, Newcastle to beat Liverpool at plus 271. And just for a bit of fun, 1/4 of a unit on my draw parlay at plus 3,851 for the 3 p.m. games in the Premier League.
Wow. Well done. Let's go a unit each across the board. Manchester United to win to nil away at Hull at plus 137. Let's go Brentford win to nil at home over Spurs at a big old number at plus 436. I mean, that'd be a great way to start this campaign. Chelsea, I'll follow your lead. Chelsea to win at minus 107. Then a couple plays from Serie A. Inter to win to nil at -128, and Fiorentina on the handicap plus a full goal away at Roma at -150. Get involved with the comments. We love to see your picks and plays and your thoughts on our leans and the way that we talk things out. We always appreciate your comments as always. We're up and running and we're thrilled about it. This has been episode 108 of Pinnacle FC.